Hello, and welcome to part 5 of Terraria Completionism. And here we are at the entrance to the castle, and I'm dressed as a unicorn because today we're going to be heading into the Hallow, which is just east of the main compound. So here we go. Remember, this is where we actually started, and not only am I dressed as a unicorn, but I'm also riding a unicorn, and I have a unicorn on a stick. That's 3 unicorns. We're that crazy. Anyway, the reason for all the unicorns is because I'm super into the Hallow. Back when hard mode started, I let the Hallow pretty much spread uncontrollably. It takes up about 15% of the world currently. The idea with what this is, these are not real trees, they're synthetic trees. They're supposed to be oak, and granted, oak trees, the foliage part is a little larger than what I have. It's a lot bigger than the trunk, so you know, these aren't really to scale as oak trees go, but I think they're still decent. The idea is that this is a forest right to the east, and that right here we have this fishing cabin where the angler usually lives whenever he's not in the main compound. The idea with fishing is I just made fishing compounds throughout the entire world where all the fishing spots are for all the right kinds of fish. I didn't do the thing most people do, which is they made a farm for fishing, so you could just have like all the fishing spots together very close to each other. I didn't make it that efficient. I just made cabins everywhere. I thought that made more sense from an RPG perspective. So you see it's sort of decorated with angler themed stuff, and there's a fireplace and shark teeth trophy and a wheel and a ship in a bottle, and this is a teleporter that goes back to the Nexus. This is one of the main Nexus teleporters that I showed off in part 4. Anyway, here we go. And yeah, fishing cabin. You're going to see the angler a lot because he travels throughout all the different fishing cabins in the world. So here there's more forest. I mean, the idea here is that the cabin is sort of in the middle of a forest. One thing I don't like about the forest biome in Terraria is that the forest biomes, like, the forest biome isn't really a forest biome, it's sort of like a hills biome. Because there's no trees in it. If you look into the background, there's just like floating islands and shit. There's no, there's no sense of a forest. When you're in the jungle, there's a sense of a forest. There's no sense of a forest when you're in the forest. But there is if I make these giant trees. And I think these look a bit more like oak trees here. So I like this place. It looks pretty nice. For some reason that sapling still hasn't grown, but whatever. Anyway, so here we are at a grave, at a cemetery, which I made. Originally, this entire place was full of graves. It was absolutely full of graves, because this is where, this whole elongated region was where I would fight, like, the mechanical bosses and stuff, and they'd often kill us and burn us and stuff like that. I marked all the graves for entertainment purposes. Those are supposed to be, like, tree stumps, because the idea is that this whole area has trees that are felled, and we're approaching what is sort of the farmlands and the outskirts of Hallowton, which is the village we're going to be visiting today. See, I made farmland because I feel like farmland makes a lot of sense within the context of Terraria, especially since you can grow herbs and stuff. So that's exactly what we have. This, okay, so this hut here is supposed to be sort of a lumber mill. It's made out of red stucco. This here is like a plantation for jungle trees. They're grown here and then regrown, and then so they could be harvested and put into the lumber mill for harvest. You can see there's like an axe there. It's supposed to be a lumber mill. So yeah, that's the idea here. This is a plantation that's just kept safe, and you see there's tree stumps all over the place. It's because all the logs have been harvested and placed in here. No one currently lives here, but I occasionally use this spawn point, so that's pretty much that. This is one of the ways of using stucco that I've tried to do. This is like the second form of stucco. And over here we're approaching the farmland. So what happens here is, what I did for the farms is I made, you know, I used the platforms, the planter boxes, and I put them up and down, and I just put the respective types of herb on them. Now, of course, you could argue the idea here is that this is, when we're looking at the farm, as we're looking at it from the top down, not from the, so it's not lying along the XY plane, it's lying along the XZ plane. So if I'm going down, I'm actually going across. And that's going to be something I'm going to repeat quite a bit in this video. So this is supposed to resemble a farm. You know, you have rows and rows of things planted, and down there you have Blinkroot, and that's pretty much it. However, you know, practically this is Terraria, so we're still locked in the XY plane. That's one of the issues, I guess. You have hay stacks and hay walls and more tree stumps in the background and like hay bales and stuff, and there's a place to collect hay over here. Hay's pretty easy to collect, so I didn't have like any extended region for hay because you collect it just by cutting small little pieces of grass. So yeah, we got that. And yeah, the whole point is that this is supposed to be a farmland. Here, this is a pumpkin farm. A very small pumpkin farm. I didn't feel like going underground and making platforms for it, but yeah, this is basically it. And it's right near this pumpkin house where the Dryad lives, again, when she's not in the main compound. And this is where I harvest seeds and my farming tools, which includes planter boxes and the harvest itself. So basically all the things that you can farm, including sunflowers, because why not? I really, really like this material. Unfortunately, I didn't get to use it too much, this pumpkin material. Simply, I mean, it's very organic and I like it, but the issue is, like, I used a lot of other materials were more important in most of the areas that I was in, so there's not too much of this pumpkin themed stuff. Maybe a few of the bookcases elsewhere in the world. I'd say it's pretty good. The issue is I just don't have that much space, and I'm trying to conserve whatever space I have left in case there's like another update and there's more stuff to add. So before we go over there, I just want to step down here onto this. So this is going to look a little weird. Again, you have another farm here. This is like Waterleaf and Moonglow. This is supposed to be a road, and like the model of the farms, which you're looking at it from the top down, they're in the XY plane. This road is also supposed to be in the in the XZ plane. Farms are in the XZ plane, the road's supposed to be in the XZ plane. So it's not actually geographically below the surface here in altitude. It's supposed to be further south than the surface. At least that's the idea. That's why there's sky here and no dirt wall. It looks a little strange, and basically the point of the road is to just have quick travel between the main compound, because there's an entrance over there, to the Hallow, and we're gonna see what the edge of the road is later, but the point is I just felt like having a road like that. There's not too many uses for asphalt in my world, simply because asphalt is sort of it's sort of used for like long platforms and stuff like this, and I just haven't had room to make a lot of stuff like that. So this is one of the uses of asphalt. Like, I haven't needed roads. The entire path up to this Hallow village has basically been already used to make way, you know, the cemetery, the forest, the farm, all that stuff. You know, all of that, it's very dense, even though it's supposed to be long. I mean, one of like the main purposes was to make it look like there is a genuine sense of distance between regions, so I couldn't just cram it full of houses and stuff like that. And the road is sort of another part of that. So anyway, we're moving into the Hallow now, and as you can see, I made sort of synthetic Hallow trees, which look kind of like birch. You could make a pretty good birch tree painting living wood wall white, and I painted the leaves various colors, pink, blue, there's like red and yellow somewhere else. This is the last farm, Moonglow, Deathweed, and Firebloom, and that's pretty much all you need when it comes to farming. I mean, for me, this has been efficient enough. The only issue is that you could say that it's geographically far away, but then again, in a real world, the farm would be geographically far away, I suppose. It wouldn't necessarily be right up against the castle. So, you know, that was sort of intended, and it's not that big of a problem, all things considered. Certainly, you could argue that the farms could be integrated into the main castle in a way that makes sense, but I feel like this just makes more sense and fills up more of the world. So you have that. This green stucco house, so this is the green stucco, third form of stucco. This is just like a simple weaving house, and there's a dye vat up there, and you know, there's some dye ingredients and paints and stuff over here. This is where the dye trader actually lives. Normally, when he's not in the main compound. A lot of the NPCs don't actually stay in the main compound, although I had all of them there for part 1. So there's some pumpkin decorations here as well, and some clothes on mannequins, etc. It's sort of like the idea is that the people in this village are, you know, tradesmen in a sense, and this is where you'd weave certain clothes, whoever lives here, and perhaps sell them and use dye certain clothes and perhaps sell the dyes. But that's basically the idea here. And that's why the dye trader stays here. This here is a smithing house, just a brick house. I was originally thinking, well, I need a house that's just bricks, because, you know, brick house looks kind of nice. And you got a sword here, and you got some smithing stuff. You got a smithing rack. You got, you know, all this good stuff. You got a blacksmith rack. You got smithing equipment, etc. Yeah, it's 4 stories tall and some storage space and you know, Hallow furniture, the whole shebang. It's very Hallow themed. A lot of the furniture here is going to use pearl wood furniture, because that's very in theme with the region. And now we come to the town square, and so you can see, actually, first of all, you can see that there's like houses in the distance there. Those are supposed to be houses further back. The idea, it's very hard in Terraria to make it seem like there's a background. But the idea is that there is sort of a background, and there are other buildings around in the distance that you don't necessarily see. I'm going to turn this on to give a sense of what this looks like. So the idea is that this is an automatic fountain. It gets activated by sensors, and then, well, as you can see, what happens is the lights start turning on all the way to the top, and I use every gem spark block wall. Every jump block, and then they automatically turn off. The way it actually works, I could explain this quickly because it's right here. It's not hard to explain. Is you have this pool of honey. Oh, hold on. So right here you have I have an if gate. The switch activates this this 5-second timer. The 5-second timer procs both the faulty lamp and the lamp below it, so it only sends a tick every second. So every second tick from the timer is a tick from the faulty gate. So the things here, the dart traps don't send darts all the time. Now what's in the actual honey pool are teal pressure pads, which so it takes the honey delays the flight of the bullet or the dart for long enough that you get sort of the timing that you get over here. It takes a long time for these things to actually start turning on and off, and that's, you know, that's the entire idea. It takes just long enough that, you know, you can turn on all of them before the second tick from the 5-second timer comes in, and they can all start turning off. So I get this great design where they all turn on and they all turn off. It looks great at night. In fact, the main idea is that it turns on at night. And the teal pressure pads are evenly spaced so that they're evenly spaced so that they all get activated at the exact same time, so the timings are not different. You can actually look at the wiring here. It's very simple, but it's a really cool design. I'm gonna leave this on because it doesn't. Oh, it's gonna turn off at night though, because the sensors are gonna get procced. It's timed just in such a way where the it'll turn on at night and run all the way until the day, where the day sensor will turn it off at the right moment. Anyway, here we have Driskin. Here's another inn, a tavern. There's beer bottles and kegs and stuff like that, and some beds. This is where certain travelers would stay. This is the local inn, you might say. Some storage in the ceiling, that's basically that. Banquet tables and stuff you could eat outside. Sort of like a restaurant as well. It's an inn and a restaurant. So, before going up there, we're going to go down here. You know, more trees. We're going to go down here, and I'm going to explain what this is. This is, again, forced perspective. This is not below the buildings above, but it's underneath them. Sorry, it's not underneath them, it's to the south of them. So this building is actually located south. The idea is that I'm walking south here. I'm not falling underground. And the idea here, as you could probably guess, is that this is every single vanity item in the game up on display as we see. So the main area here contains most of the normal vanity items. You see you got the treasure hunters, tuxedos, etc. And down here we have costumes, Christmas costumes, Halloween costumes. Down there we have developer items, boss masks, vanity pieces, head pieces, various other masks. We also have certain armors here. These are not vanity pieces per se, but they're effectively vanity pieces simply because they're not that useful. So I just put them up here because I feel like they function more like vanity than anything else. So we have the Eskimo clothes and the gladiator clothes, and we have magic robes and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the idea here. There's a little house here for the clothier, and this teleporter here, as I teased it back in part 1, this is actually the teleporter over to this section, which is sort of the costume dressing room in the main castle. And there's an easy teleporter into the Hallow where you can also dress up. And this is usually, I have 2 sets of every single vanity item, which took a long time to collect, and I collected them, you know, fairly. So yeah, that was annoying. And then of course the clothier can come in and out because I made that and put him right next to the teleporter. So before going up, we're just gonna go here. So this right here is a fishing cabin. It's a Hallow fishing cabin. Again, forced perspective wise, this is supposed to be south and slightly far away from the village, not actually below the village, not actually below Hallowton itself. And this is the road that I teased earlier, and this is where it is, and it leads back to the main compound, into a cave that enters the main compound. So, you know, with all the fishing cabins, I just have a place where I could put equipment, bait, and the catches that you get. So here would be Hallow catches, and there's a bed, and obviously, and stuff like that. It just depends. There's also these, like, pillar things that I put onto the lake. I don't know why exactly I made them, I just think they look kind of interesting. The idea is like there's this like pillar that's stuck, you know, to the bottom of the lake. You can sort of swim out to it and get on top and fish from there. So it looks kind of nice. So this entire area used to be Crimson before hard mode. Then the Hallow took over it, and I'm actually glad because the Crimson sort of the Crimson cell all Hallowified looks really cool. This is how I used orange torches. It'll make a very like nice little effect, and I put Hallow fence along the wall here to make it look more kind of like a mine shaft, kind of like there was some sort of business going down here. And this is mostly a storage and transportation area, so that's why you have these like fence things that are supposedly holding up the ceiling and stuff like that, prevent the cave from collapsing, because that's what this is here. And now we're coming down to the Hallow station. Remember in part 4 I talked about train stations. This is the Hallow station. So it's copper plating, and the idea, this train line, this train line goes back into the main train station next to the Nexus that I showed in part 4. And just like the other one, it works the exact same way. You can just select where you want to go. Nexus right there. You'd hit a switch, you get to the other end, you turn off the switch, and it would take you up off the platform. So that's that. We're not going to use it right now because we still have to go up, but that's just the idea that I've shown you off. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back. We're going to go back through the costume palace. That's what this is. And into this building. And this place looks much better during the day, so actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and tease the... As you see at night, this is what it looks like. It looks very good at night. This is the idea here. I'm going to actually skip to day using the enchanted dial. Oh, that doesn't work. That's because I used it recently. God damn it. Okay, well, I'm just going to go back and look at the section then. So... this is the bottom floor of the Arboretum. What you have here, you can see, is you have stained glass windows and glass wall in the background, and you have all the kinds of trees floating. I'm gonna turn on more light. And you have all the different kinds of trees planted here on sand. This is palm, and palm wood trees need a sort of a large area compared to other trees. This is, you have boreal wood trees here, and they have green stained glass. So the idea of the Arboretum is it's a massive building at the edge of the Hallow and the snow biome where lots of different trees are planted. And it's sort of a decorative area. And of course the trees are harvested periodically and used in lumber mills and stuff like that, but the idea is that people can come here and look at the arboretum, and it looks really nice. This is just a passageway that leads from the sort of the main area of the arboretum to the costume palace. It's going up and down. As you see, there's lots of banners and stuff here. I'm going to talk about this little room. This is just mostly like a banner room. That's snowfall wall in the background, because the idea is like we're right next to the snow biome, so you can imagine snow falling in the background. There's a few paintings here. This whole place is sort of like Halloween themed. That's why I have like the solar eclipse enemy banners here and stuff. And there's some Hallow crates, so sort of like those are glass chandeliers painted white, and all the Hallow banners and stuff. The idea is sort of, it's supposed to be sort of fancy and decorative, because the idea is it's kind of like a tourist attraction. A few statues here that are painted white to match the look of the Hallow brick. And here we're at the snow biome, actually, and this is a snowball cannon. Just shoot it out. I don't actually have snowballs. But yeah, that's the idea. So, right here, there's some, you can see that there's some, like, snow, there's some pearlwood brick towers, or hallowed brick towers, that are looking off over the snow biome. They're supposed to be in the distance. That's why they look, you know, kind of small, and that's why they're inaccessible. This one's supposed to be far in the distance. And in fact, this down there is supposed to be like a bridge that's further in the distance, but that leads to the bottom of one of these towers. So this is the bridge that's adjacent to that tower. And over here, there's another tower in the distance right there. As you can see, there's a lot of like there's a lot of wall here, grass wall and flower wall that I painted teal to match the Hallow foliage. Except that over here, what we got over here is there's no, here we have normal grass and normal foliage, and this is sort of like the hanging gardens of Babylon, or the hanging gardens of Hallowton. Like I said, this whole area is sort of like a tourist attraction. So you can imagine people coming in here and walking through the gardens. This entire building is supposed to be sort of rounded, or sort of like, not rounded, but like a semicircle. So it's a semicircle for where the trees are, and this is like the back of the semicircle. So you could like, you'd have to like walk through this semi sort of garden jungle to get to the arboretum itself. There's some sawmills here, because this is also, again, like a factory. The trees are occasionally harvested and replanted. We got blue, we got, what is it called? Blue stained glass for the Hallow. We got red stained glass for the Crimson, and we got purple stained glass for the Corruption, and that's what we have up there. Of course, there's no lights here, but again, this place is supposed to look very nice during the day, and we're actually almost there, so you could see a little bit of that. And up here, this is supposed to just be like an observatory. There's some glass furniture and stuff, and some sofas and couches. Again, the idea is this whole place is circular, and you can actually, like, not only is it circular, but the idea is that this platform that I'm on right here, it doesn't, it's not the ceiling of, it doesn't correspond to the ceiling, like, of this room right below. It's actually like the platform goes around the perimeter of the semicircular room. So like if you're on this platform, you can look out over into the room and see the trees below. And that's why the peaks of the trees are actually going above the platform, is because they're not right below the platform. This is just another thing in Terraria, is that there's no, it's very hard to give the whole thing a sense of depth. So the idea is that like the trees aren't actually right below the platform. The platform's going around the perimeter. The trees are in the middle of the room, and or in the middle, not necessarily in the middle, but they're, you know, they're farther from the edge of the room than the platform itself. And the same thing for the trees down here. I mean, the idea is like from this platform you can look down and see all the different trees from all three biomes: purple, crimson, and Hallow, all the way to the bottom. The Hallow ones are the ones that are in the very center. So there's sort of like they're sort of like established around the edges. Again, like to make that work, I would like in practice, it would probably make more sense to just put like Hallow trees in the middle here, a crimson tree here and there, corrupt tree here, and like at the very edge. But at the same time, I wanted some functionality, because I did use this place to harvest these types of wood rather than just like go to the respective biomes to get it. My Crimson biome doesn't actually have a lot of wood, so I had to use that. So we're going to just go up here. This is supposed to be a ladder, a transportation ladder to this. This is the Hallowton Sky Station. Remember, I mentioned that there is a sky railway as well. And speaking of fishing cabins, this right here is a fishing cabin for the Sky Lake that's right there. That's exactly what this is. And again, fishing bait, catches, etc. Lots of harpy banners. There's a random wyvern, which I'm just going to murder. Of course, I'm just using skyware for this. It's a very simple building. A lot of these fishing cabins are just simple houses. There's not much to them. But again, just like the train station below, we have this one above. There's not as many stations up here, but that's basically the idea, and a few synthetic clouds that I made as part of it. So I'm just going to go back down. It's full daylight now, so you could actually look at the way this place looks. It looks pretty nice. You have the purple, the crimson, the Hallow. So yeah, that's basically it. That is Hallowton. Those are Hallowton's decorations. That's what Hallowton looks like. It's all really nice. It's sort of an ancillary area. As you can see, I do use it for functionality. It's got tree farms, it's got seed farms, it's got vanity items, all of the vanity items in the game. So it's sort of used for ancillary storage as well as, you know, looking nice, and as well as sort of completing the Hallow section of my world. And next episode, next part, we're going to be going out over into the snow biome over here. And yeah, so that's going to be part 6. Farewell.